On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
Or it appreciates over time.
Okay, so
anything that appreciate over time is an asset.
You say your watch is an asset, right?
Absolutely.
How much do it cost? How much did it cost?
This one, $40,000.
$40,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can the average person buy a $40,000 watch?
But they don't need to. You know where they can start?
Wait.
You know where they can start?
Without?
You know where they can start?
Say that again?
You know where they can start? These right here just came in the mail. These are worth more than what I paid for them as long as I don't put them on my feet. Every last thing that's in here look like a fucking Foot Locker on both sides of this room. Everything I have in here is an appreciating asset. Everything, because I look at it differently. And that's what I was explaining to people in the beginning of the live stream, is that it's different. It's a difference between opening up a business and looking at things from a business perspective. It's a completely different game that everybody playing out here. Anything. And the reason, to answer your question about why people go out of businesses within the first year, it speaks to my point specifically, because anybody can start a business, but very few people know how to look at things from a business perspective. And it's a completely different ball game. It has nothing to do with what people think it is. It's a completely different thing than managing your personal finances. And that's why it's people that start businesses that have great credit scores and they still gonna go broke within the first year. They don't understand how to look at things from a business perspective. It's a completely different game.
The only pushback I would have on that, Anton, is that when you say that it's easy to run up a 740 credit score, it's not.
You can add on lines. You can add on lines to increase your credit score. There's ways around the system. You just gotta.
Okay. I got you, Q. How many credit repair businesses exist for businesses?
You don't need a credit repair business to run your junk up to 740, bro. That's easy.
I got you. I'm just asking, how many credit repair companies exist for businesses?
I don't know. I don't support credit repair companies. I don't think that's the move.
Right. And what I'm asking really is versus the personal. And what we find is most people. So maybe let me ask it this way, because I think that part what you're saying is relevant and important. Give us the game. How do you go about? If it's easy to run your credit,
that's Patreon level content. We're not going there.
Oh, okay. Okay, so get Anton on the
$15.99 a month. You can join his Patreon.
We're not gonna go that far. We was talking about leverage. I'm not going that far.
Well, I don't think it's. And this is talking about personal credit, because I've dealt with it when I was in the process of making sure my credit, trying to get a perfect score, and then also helping other women get theirs. It's what I've learned is not as easy as like in 3 months. Majority of us don't understand what credit is when we're getting out of college and have debt already for school. So that's a huge debt that a lot of us have on our credit report. It's a huge debt that we get in college when we have credit cards. It's a huge debt already with mom and them, cousin them putting the water bill in our name at 5. And then we getting out and we like, why is my credit score 400? So it does take time, and it is usually 30% as far as usage from your credit card. But it depends on how much or a limit of credit that you have. So just because you have a $200 credit card, that doesn't give you any leverage on your personal credit. It's the more credit that's available to you in your name, which helps your credit score. Also, when you get your credit checked, a lot of people don't know that it takes 2 years for it to drop off your credit report. So it's only a minimum amount that you're able to get it checked. But
that's a light thing. That don't even the impact of a hard inquiry on your credit report is only about 5 points, and then the significance of it drops off after 6 months. It does not affect you that hard. That is not true. Even if it only drops it does not affect the actual credit score. It does not.
So
it's
what
not
I'm saying is
it's not that impactful.
What I'm saying is I didn't say it was this level is this percent and that percent. That never came out my mouth. What I'm saying is everything that contributes to your credit score, and that is something that does. And it takes 2 years for it to drop, period, off of it at all. So it's a lot of things that contribute to your credit score. And from what I've learned, that it usually takes someone around a year or 2 years to get their credit from a 400 to a 700. It is possible. I don't think you need a credit report. pay your bills. And what I always tell people is go one small bill at a time. Call these people. A lot of the stuff that you can get removed off your credit if you call and let them know. So it's a lot of stuff that you can do that you don't need a credit group for or repair to do it. So again, I can talk about credit all day.
Yes.
I was in that position.
I'm gonna just say this. Go ahead, Logic. I'm sorry.
No, you can go. My bad.
I'm gonna just say this. I think that it's important for people to really, really start doing a deep dive into research, because a lot of the things that we think make sense is a myth. It's not what y'all think it is. Trust me. You can easily run these numbers up without even thinking twice. And there's people that give game out here every single day. I'm gonna just leave it at that, because I know we got to advance the conversation, and I know Logic want to add into this.
Yeah, I don't mean it's necessary. I don't want to actually push back either way, but the only reason I would say, and I like how Courtney explained that, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's the pink shirt something today, but I like to actually explain that though, is that when you dealing with something though, like you just got to see here when you're dealing with that leverage, you got to realize that, okay, well, personal would be a start and then business would be an elevated level. So as Black people, and a lot of Black people I know, just understanding personal credit. You know what I'm saying? I got like brothers and cousins that had shit on their credit for like 17 years. And they just understood that, hey, look, you know what? That shit should have been off. Mm-hmm. So it's we understanding that. So I think that when you're answering a question though, it's like, you know what I'm saying, which one gives you the most leverage? You know what I'm saying? As Black people, we got to say deal with the person because we got to deal with the store. Like I said, Anton, you might be at a more advanced level. So you're talking to people that's at advanced level with you. But if we're talking about a general conversation to everybody that's watching this live stream, they're more like, I mean, because I know people that get a 750 and they about to throw a party. They popping bottles. You know what I'm saying? It's a celebration for people to achieve that because they've been used to most of their time their credit been in the hole. That's my whole point though.
But Logic, let's not just talk about Black people. What about people as a whole? What would you
I don't care about them.
The reason that I don't really talk about or advocate for credit is because that's not beneficial to you at all. Credit does not mean anything to Black people, and that they should not be leaning on that in order to be able to justify their existence or say that they're winning in life. Credit is not the game. You should not care anything about credit. The only thing that you should be doing is using assets. You're better off from a business perspective. And I'm not even talking about having a business. I'm just talking about looking at things from a business perspective. You're better off continuing to leverage the assets that you have in order to be able to move mountains and get deals done. As long as you continue to acquire assets, you don't need credit. You shouldn't even be dependent on credit. The only thing credit does is that it puts you in a position to where you then got to pay the servicing fees for whatever it is that they're charging you in interest. You giving away money for free. The only time that I advocate for people to use credit is from a business perspective when their business is booming, and then they can expand rapidly. But as far as personally using credit, yeah, if you need it in order to be able to get into a house or whatever, so on and so, that's easy. That's light work. But stop using credit in order to be able to justify whether or not you're successful or not. That's the thing that's killing the Black community more than anything, is that they spend more of their money on finance and things. And the problem with credit is that a lot of times when you get it, it gives you this false sense that you can spend more than you really do, or than you really can, because then you start to space out the payments, and people then start to look at things based off of whether or not they can afford the payments instead of paying attention to how much they give into the finance companies. The servicing, the way banks work, I shouldn't even be talking like this. The way banks work, and I know because I've been in banking and I've done it for years, is that when the pandemic hit, everybody panicked and they pulled their money out and they put it in banks. Banks rejoiced. Bank's job is to sell you the picket fence, the house, the cars, and all of this. It's the reason why everybody go out and get 30-year mortgages, because they don't even understand that when you get a 30-year mortgage, right, you're better off getting a 15 for a house that you can really afford, because by the time you pay off that 30-year mortgage, you're going to pay more than double in interest. Let's say hypothetically that you buy a house for between $250,000 and $300,000 and you put 20% down. which means that you don't have to pay PMI, private mortgage insurance, right? What you'll wind up paying is probably $70,000 to $75,000 more in interest over the life of that loan, just because you spanned it out from 30 years instead of 15 years, because we pay attention to how much the payments are instead of paying attention to how much money we're giving away to the mortgage companies, the services of the loan, the bank. They want you to put your money in the bank. Inflation is at an all-time high of 8%, meaning that your money is losing money every time you don't have it in an asset, which means cash is trash. But they take your money and then they loan it out to everybody else, so then you can pay servicing fees and pay the interest on your mortgage, and you're giving them free money every single day. We should be teaching how it is that we can leverage and get assets. People look at me and they say, Anton, you crazy for buying that Rolex. What they don't understand is that I paid $40,000 for it, but by the time I walked out the store, it was worth between 55 and 58. It's
Okay,
but appreciate over time. But my point is that we need to be buying assets. Land.
Okay, you got to realize this, Anton. How can the average person leverage these assets? How can the average person that's watching this show right now get these assets? Is it going to be through personal credit, or
assets is anything? Assets is anything, and we're not talking about depreciating assets. It's a difference between depreciating assets and appreciating assets. Anything can be an asset. Anything that's worth value can be an asset. The difference is that,
I'm with you though, but for the average person that's watching this live stream, how do they obtain these assets?
I'm about to tell you. The only thing that you have to do at a fundamental level is continue to buy things that increase in value over time. That's the basic rule. Anything, when people look at these shoes, when people look at these watches, when people look at the land that I buy, the real estate that I own, it appreciates over time. I don't buy anything. And you can look at anything that I do. Either it's getting written off from a business expense or it appreciates over time.
Okay, so
anything that appreciates over time is an asset.
You say your watch is an asset, right?
Absolutely.
How much do it cost? How much did it cost?
This one, $40,000.
$40,000. Now, can the average person buy a $40,000 watch?
But they don't need to. You know where they can start?
Wait.
You know where they can start?
Without?
You know where they can start?
Say that again?
You know where they can start? These right here just came in the mail. These are worth more than what I paid for them as long as I don't put them on my feet. Every last thing that's in here look like a fucking Foot Locker on both sides of this room. Everything I have in here is an appreciating asset. Everything, because I look at it differently. And that's what I was explaining to people in the beginning of the live stream, is that it's different. It's a difference between opening up a business and looking at things from a business perspective. It's a completely different game that everybody playing out here.